All right, let's get into this. Gilbert Arenas came out in defense of Anthony Edwards after Ant went down to shake hands with the San Antonio Spurs, and he did it with about 8 minutes still left on the clock. That move drew some serious criticism, and Udonis Haslem took it personally. He felt like Gilbert was directly addressing him and everyone else who had called Ant out for it. And to be fair, the criticism wasn't coming from nowhere. Blake Griffin had something to say about it. Dirk Nowitzki weighed in as well, not attacking Edwards as a player, but specifically questioning that moment and what it looked like. And honestly, when you're still in the middle of a battle with a group of guys on a floor, going over to greet the other team before the final whistle isn't exactly the best optic. The general expectation is that you wait until the game is completely over, especially with that much time remaining. Now, on the flip side, Gilbert's argument in Ant's defense is pretty straightforward. His point is essentially, look, once the game ends, it's chaotic. You may never get the chance to have that genuine moment, so why not handle it early and get it out of the way while there's still an opportunity? So, coming up, we're going to break down exactly what Udonis Haslem said, what Gilbert Arenas said, and then we'll get into Haslem's direct response to Gilbert's Instagram post.
Will say is, as great as Ant is as a basketball player, there's still some growth for him as well. Because as a leader, I would not have walked down there and shook their hand. I would not have walked down there and shook their hand with 8 minutes left in the game. As a leader of my troops and my guys, I would not show that weakness. The game is not over. I got 8 minutes left. I still got smoke coming out of my ears because I'm so damn mad we losing. Let me calm down for those 8 minutes since I'm not in, and then after those 8 minutes, I'll go down there and I'll congratulate them and their coaching staff. But in the middle of the game, when I got guys that have sat the bench and cheered me on, no, I'm gonna sit there and cheer those guys on. I'm gonna put that energy back into those guys, and then when the game's over, I'll go over there and shake their hands. So that's just the way I handle things. I'm a little bit different. I'm a little bit old school. I understand there's a different generation, but I don't think if they were beating San Antonio, Wemby would have went down there and shook his hand with 8 minutes left. I don't think so. I damn sure know Wemby wouldn't have went down there and shook his hand.
I don't even know if that's old school.
So for me, I love Ant-Man as a basketball player. I love where he's going to be as a basketball player, but as a leader, the next few steps he needs to make are little small details and things like that, because other people on your team and those guys are always watching you and they're following you whether you know it or not.
That's called sportsmanlike conduct, right? And this is why I love being on this side now. You can't pick and choose when you want to use sportsmanlike conduct. You can't use that. Don't now hate Ant-Man because he's shaking their hands. It don't matter when. He know he was getting subbed out. He knows after this game is over, I'm not gonna wanna go down there. My locker room is right here, and I'm you know what, I just wanna get the hell out of here. So in real time, he goes, let everybody, good game, period. If he walked off the court at the end and didn't shake the hand, you're gonna say he was a sore loser, right? You know that Michael Jordan, Isaiah Thomas beef, not shaking hands? You guys pick and choose when you wanna be all sportsmanlike friendly. And he showed the ultimate respect. Like, I don't see nothing wrong with it.
When that post hit Udonis Haslem's timeline, he clearly felt like he was one of the people Gilbert Arenas was speaking to. And honestly, that makes sense because Haslem had been the most vocal about it. I even remember seeing one of the pundits say they were curious to hear what Udonis would have to say once he saw it. So Haslem goes straight to Gilbert's Instagram post where the video was uploaded, and he drops a comment. He says, @NoChillGil, man, stop it. So that means Julius can do it, McDaniels can do it. They all came out. Why didn't any of them go down there? And why didn't Coach Finch walk over to the huddle and shake Mitch's hand too? Are we really saying anybody can just do that? Because that's a problem. And if we're specifically saying Ant can do it, that's a problem too. Nobody gets to selectively pick and choose on something like this. What was the rush? You've got the entire offseason ahead of you. I'm an Ant fan, but the man should have waited until the game was over, plain and simple. Now, some people came at Haslem in the comments, suggesting his whole tough guy stance was performative and that he was being too hard on Ant. And Haslem fired back at one of those users, saying, I'm on his side. Did I talk bad about him? Can't he receive constructive criticism? Did you see me praise him for multiple things before I even touched on that? Because I did. Y'all are just out here looking for something to be mad about. I'm his biggest fan, but I'm also a real one, and I stand on what I stand on. Simple as that. Like it or not, I'm sure the young man wouldn't have a problem with it, because I gave him his respect from the jump. Now, here's what I want to add to this, and I do think Haslem gave Anthony Edwards his respect from the start. But the reality is, the way this situation is going to get framed when a reporter brings it to Ant is going to be the problem. They're not going to present the full picture. They're going to say one of the OGs was very critical of you. And we've all seen how Edwards reacts in those moments. Remember what happened with Cameroon? He said, forget him. That's just how it goes. A journalist frames the question a certain way, Ant feels his pride kick in, and suddenly he's responding to a watered-down version of what was actually said, rather than the full conversation. And look, what Haslem was pointing to is actually a real thing. He was speaking to Anthony Edwards' next level of growth, his maturation as a leader. That's something you're always developing, especially when you haven't won anything yet. And even when you do start winning, the growth doesn't stop, because every year brings different personnel, different dynamics, and a whole new set of situations you have to learn how to navigate. And look, I think Haslem's point is a valid one. Now, Gilbert Arenas brings up something worth talking about. I remember recently, and I can't recall exactly who floated this idea, but there was a conversation about whether teams should start shaking hands before the game instead of after. And honestly, I'm not sure if that was being proposed for professional sports or just at the amateur level, because I could definitely see the case for youth sports. We're seeing way too many incidents breaking out at AAU tournaments and high school games these days. Parents going at it, coaches losing their composure, players getting into it. It's been a real issue. But the idea of shaking hands before the battle even begins, I'm not completely against it. I can see the argument. That said, at the professional level, I do think grown men should be able to handle a post-game handshake. There's something meaningful about that moment. To the victor go the spoils. And part of what makes winning feel significant is being able to look the other man in the eye after a long series or a hard-fought game and acknowledge it. That's part of the sting for the loser and part of the satisfaction for the winner. That moment carries real weight when you've climbed to the top. So that idea might make more sense as a youth sports solution, given how frequently things are turning physical at those levels. But at the NBA level, with the fines and the professionalism expected of these guys, I think post-game handshakes should be manageable just fine. Now, Anthony Edwards going over into the opposing team's huddle to do it, with 8 minutes still on the clock, that's what made it such a strange scene to watch. And honestly, I'd love to know how his teammates genuinely felt in that moment. Just walking over there in the middle of a live game to shake hands and offer congratulations, that's something you don't see. It was jarring. But here's the thing. We've always known Ant does things his own way. That's a big part of why people gravitate toward him. He gives you real answers. He doesn't always reach for the safe, polished PR response. That authenticity is actually what a lot of fans fell in love with when he first entered the league. This just happens to be one of those situations where the right move was simply to wait until the final buzzer. I also find myself wondering how a veteran like Mike Conley processed that moment. How did the guys in that locker room really feel about it? And to be clear, nobody can question Anthony Edwards' commitment to winning. He went out there and competed while clearly not being anywhere close to 100%. He gutted it out through the Denver series too, noticeably limited in his explosiveness. And people respect that. He didn't have to be out there, but he was. That counts for a lot. And it's a big reason why he's still getting so much love despite the criticism around this specific moment. So that's where I land on it. But I want to hear from you. Where do you stand? Are you riding with Team Udonis or are you siding with Gil?